Awkward Insurance. Most followers know that we have a Facebook page, but did you know that you can also find Awkward on YouTube under TNA Austin? Don't ask us how we came up with that tag, but it's there. We have video content posted that we've collected over the past several months, and we would love for you to come and laugh at all the awkward body language. This is a whole new level of self-actualization, Ashley, now that we've done some video content, that I am like looking at myself thinking, okay, I need to stop doing that. What the heck did I just do with my face? Why are you standing? I make fun of my daughter. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. I don't make fun of my daughter. I draw out some of her peculiarities from when she was a toddler. And when I see her run on the soccer field, she does this thing with her hands, like her fingers are so stiff, and she still does it. I'm like, oh, I see my toddler running on the soccer field, even though she's 14 years old now. And when I was watching something that I did, I think it was at Arkansas Eye Day, my fingers were doing the same thing. They were like stiff and splayed. No, it wasn't Arkansas Eye Day. It was the Vegas stuff that I was doing, and somebody made me laugh nervous. So you can always tell when that happens. But then you could tell I got nervous because my hands did this. I was like, oh my gosh, my daughter and I have the same. So you can check out Awkward Insurance on YouTube. Check it out. Let us know what kind of awkward things you're seeing there. Ash, can I ask you a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Judy, yeah. Can I ask you a question?
What's up? Of course you can ask me a question.
In a crowd of people you don't know, maybe business leaders, do you ever feel like you need to hide where you're from in terms of your state? Like, there's stereotypes and stuff.
So this is a good question. So, like, if somebody asks me where I'm from, I say Scranton, Pennsylvania, because I'm from Scranton. I just happen to live in Ohio right now.
Is there a reason why you say you're from Pennsylvania versus, like, I wouldn't know how to... If I moved, where are you from?
Because that was, 30 years of my life, and it's a pretty, it's pretty hefty. I've only been here in Ohio like 5.5 years. So, like, to me, Ohio is not my home. Pennsylvania is. And also, like, growing up, and if you had asked me at 29 and a half, hey, do you think you're ever going to, like, live in Ohio? I'd be like, ew, no. But let me tell everyone that's listening from Ohio, I really, really, really love Columbus now. And I bought a house here, so I'm here to stay. So I like it now.
Houses are sellable.
Huh?
I said houses are sellable.
No, I know. But, like, that just showed I planted some roots here with Steve. So we're going to be here a while.
Okay. Judy, where are you from again?
Sikeston, Missouri. And
do you ever feel geographic judgment?
Absolutely.
You do?
Yeah,
why?
Sure. I mean, just Southeast Missouri, it's kind of, there's nothing really here. I
asked the question because there's a lot of geographic judgment when I say, or maybe it's internal, I don't know, when I say I'm from Arkansas. And what brought it up to mind is something that happened last night. It's kind of like, follow me on my story here. I recently met a student at the University of Central Arkansas. I was on campus to talk to their class about insurance stuff, right? And one thing I love to do whenever I'm talking to these students is I ask them what their personal interests are. Not what do you want to be when you grow up? I really don't care about that. But, like, what is it you do as a hobby? What really gets you going every day? What is it you turn to when you're feeling overwhelmed? Like, is it art? Is it whatever? So one particular girl young lady after the class, she came up to me and she said she was actually majoring in, I think it was video and production or something like that. One of the questions she asked, though, like, took me back when they said, hey, do you have any questions? She's like, yeah. Do you think I'll actually get hired studying film and media or whatever from Arkansas? I was like, hey, now. Like, what's the problem with Arkansas? But then last night, we're sitting down to dinner, and I look over at the TV, and the headline was, out of Hot Springs, Arkansas, officials have warned residents to be on the lookout for a wandering emu.
We had one of those.
Like, do not approach, or like, not even approach with caution, but do not approach and call animal services if you... I'm like, this is Arkansas. We have freaking emu that just are terrorizing our neighborhoods.
It's terrifying. There's definitely, there's monkeys in South Carolina. So, it, could be a lot worse.
Well, Ash, I want to let you know how this particular guest, let's go ahead and introduce her. Judy Hughes is our guest on Awkward Insurance today. We are so excited to have a fellow Southerner. You're not a Southern. Ohio's not considered Southern. No, I'm sorry. You're not Southern. Go away, Ash. So, like, sometimes I draw lines of like who's considered Southern or not. I don't know. Maybe Ash, you're just Southern by association. But a fellow Southerner. Anyway, so I met Judy. She had some questions about a designation journey, which is awesome. Where are you at on your designation journey right now, Judy?
Nowhere yet. I am definitely going to do the annual membership so that I can kind of just knock it out.
Fantastic.
I haven't completed that yet, just with personal stuff going on. So getting things out of the way, and then I'm gonna. It'll be a distraction for me also. So
yeah. Well, that's awesome. So what she's talking about is a membership subscription with the Alliance that either gets her access to like the CISR path or the CIC paths, and you can gain access to those online webinars or self-paced courses. You can knock it out as quickly as you want to, or you can go at your own pace. So that's amazing. I can't wait to follow your journey, Judy. But something else came up while we were talking. Judy brought a perspective that I hadn't actually consciously considered before when it comes to insurance fraud. Ash, what's the first thing you think of when it comes to insurance fraud? Like, first thing, top of your head.
Oh, wait, burning a house down.
Burning a house down. So the consumer committing the fraud.
Well, yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Well, I have another statement, but I'm going to wait.
Wait.
So
what's your
I
other
think
statement?
let me put my agent hat on. My brain goes to you're burning a house down. Let me put my Ashley's going to go and teach an E&O course hat on, and it would be like withholding premiums, like the agent withholding premiums.
Okay. Anyways, your first point was consumer fraud. That's why I asked you for the first thing. I didn't ask you for your second item, but thanks for providing that anyways. That's what I want to talk about, though, is the impact that maybe the insurance agent, the insurance professional, the representative, maybe even the company has on the client. And that was something that was pretty unique whenever I was talking to Judy. She started talking about an experience that she had where she experienced insurance fraud under leadership. And instead of telling me like what her experience is as an insurance professional and how, yada, 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 that impacted her career, she actually started talking about the impact that had on her clients. Judy, I would love for you to in as buttoned up way as you can, so as not to call anybody out, right?
Right.
Describe the experience that you had with insurance fraud.
Well, I did a couple of people. There were several incidents. Of course, I left that place and went to a different place, and some moved immediately with me because they kind of had experiences. They would come in for, to pay their policy, and there's no policy. Where the money had been collected and not paid towards the premium, but deposited, receipted. I mean, there was proof that the payment was made, but it wasn't applied properly. But then once I left, I couldn't control or fix the problem, for them. And I had one he's mentally challenged individual, and he has a business and pulls, a lawnmower trailer and mows lawns. And he had come over and he said, I paid 2 months of this and they're saying I don't have any insurance. And so I confirmed that, yeah, you didn't. And he was so sad. And it was like, she was my friend, I trusted her, and he clings to people. So like, he'll only speak to me in the office. He has a banker that he'll only speak to that one bank person, because he trusts them. He's intelligent in a lot of ways, but then there's a lot of ways he could be taken advantage of. And that was definitely one of them. So it just made me super sad that the statement just, she was my friend, and I trusted her.
But you have me like tearing up over here.
I know. I'm trying not to. I'm a crier. So
I know. And I'm normally not, but I'm running on lack of sleep and a lot of caffeine. And that one really pulled at the heartstrings.
Same. And then I had another gentleman that actually, the company that he was with dropped that agency and recommended the other agencies in the area that could take the policy so that it didn't just cancel. Well, then he found out that I was here. I needed to answer the phone, and he actually yelled at me, and it was like, I know what you did. And I was like, sir, I don't know what you're talking about. So I don't know what was told or anything after I left. But then he came back in and he's like, I need to apologize to you. And I was like, you don't. I was like, you trusted somebody. And when you trusted somebody, you put your full faith in them and everything that they say. and everything that they do. But kind of find out he had had 2 years, no homeowners insurance collected from the mortgage company. And they had sent just an accord form that stated that they had insurance and there was no coverage for any of the places. There were several situations like that that had been a lot, and so he apologized, and now, he passes up everybody. And a lot of people in the office sometimes I think get frustrated because they're like, I can do the same thing she can do, but it's like, you can, but they don't trust it because they've had this experience, and it burns you and it scares you. And then when you trust somebody, you don't want to get away from it, So I do have people that, I'll say, well, you probably could get a better premium with this captive agency, or whatever. I can help you with my friend that runs this place to probably get something cheaper. And they're like, no, I'd rather pay more and stay with you, and it's not just the value of the agent, but it's just that they've been through trauma. I mean, if that person, and I also found out because like I had heard, oh, well, there's E&O insurance, it'll cover it. Well, E&O doesn't cover fraud. So if there are receipts and there's verification or like the accord proof of insurance, evidence of insurance that were sent out, and the person knowingly, fraudulently did this, then there's no coverage. So then you just go after the person individually who's having the financial issues in the first place, or they wouldn't be committing the fraud. And that person is without a home for how long, until the litigation goes through. So it's been super emotional for me going through things with people and getting things fixed up. And the place is no longer in business, so I'm not worried constantly about everybody that might, be there, go there. So that helps a ton, but it's just, there are a million other agents in the world. So, at what point, and this was a business owner, so it wasn't just a person that you hire, fire, it's the agency owner. And then also, when I was there, that's my livelihood too. If I don't have something else lined up, I can't just walk out the door. I can't, call it in, there's, so I just tried to fix, but fixing it just encouraged and enabled it to continue. And that's kind of, it's just, I think, like, don't be afraid to report people and get out of your situation immediately, because it affects you more emotionally than you'll ever know for the people that do care.
Mm-hmm.
Was the fraud something that you noticed, or something that was just kind of office, what do they say, water cooler chatter?
No, it was a very small office. So it was the owner, me, and then a receptionist. And it was noticed. It was something that, the drawer's missing money, or the, there's a receipt here, but I don't see the payment. And, so we would just kind of follow up and look at the receipts, because it was handwritten receipts. Yeah. So we'd look at the handwritten receipts and apply what we needed to apply to make it appropriate.
What ways do you think going through that experience and seeing it from that side of things, and knowing that you've got clients that are still in your book that choose to be with you because they trust you, has that impacted the way you service other clients that haven't been a victim of fraud?
I have some people that they're like, I'm sorry, can I ask for a receipt? And it's like, don't ever apologize asking for a receipt. 100% always get a receipt. Don't ever apologize to me. Don't apologize for asking questions. Don't apologize for questioning anything at any time with anybody. So I encourage people to check people and not just take people's word for it. And that's really with anything in the world, anything in life. Don't just believe what you're told. Investigate it yourself for your own opinion. But
yeah, that's kind of hard to do though sometimes. And it kind of falls back on, you don't know what questions to ask when you don't know what questions to ask, and a consumer doesn't know what questions to ask. They just go into these transactions with blind trusted faith in us as insurance professionals, right?
Because it's not their profession.
That's a deep responsibility when you think about that. See, like I don't know, I get after a while you start to see insurance as a transaction. Somebody calls you, especially when your mind isn't bent towards the fraud side of things. But right. Which brings on a whole nother question, is I just don't understand how people commit certain crimes anyways. Like, what part of the brain does that come from? I don't really get it.
How can you sleep knowing that? I mean, I don't know how many people had gone through this. I know one of her family members had come to me and she's like, I have this as my insurance. Is this real? And so we contacted the company and found out it was not real, and So that was a huge thing. And she actually filed a Department of Insurance claim against her. She did get her money back for the time that she had paid the money and didn't have the insurance. But there's a lot of people that didn't get resolve, like the person that went 2 years without, ended up not getting a resolve from it, that I think should be a thing, and they're still pursuing, but, it's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see. And luckily there were no huge losses. There wasn't, somebody's house didn't burn down and they're homeless, and, it was just
that's
the
true.
incidents of not being protected. So it's, sad and terrifying for them, but luckily there were no losses. So.
Yeah. Ashley, you had a lot of
Yeah, I know. But do you think I remember any of it? I mean, one of the, I definitely had something profound to say, and this is not that because I don't remember what that was. But one of the things, now I remember. One of the things that always, got me was when I would have a client come in, and I knew based off of who they were referred by that they were going to be a higher end client. So it's going to take more, care and working with them to make sure that I'm uncovering everything, because they might not remember oh, I should probably tell them that I have a full movie theater in my basement with a whole ticket booth and everything, because to them it's just their basement. But I specifically remember having this client come in one time and knew him through other people that were good friends with my uncle. Never met the guy before this. And he's sitting there playing Bejeweled on his phone. And this is an intelligent human being. He was a professional and was doing very well in life, and his kids were with him, but he's the one playing Bejeweled. And I'm going over these coverages with him and telling him the differences from what he had to what I'm giving him, and how it's better, and what he's missing or what he should have. And he's like, just tell me, just point and sign. Point and I'll sign. And I look at him, I go, no, it's not going to work that way. I'll wait until you're done with that round of Bejeweled, and then I can have your attention and go over this with you, unless you want to just stick with your current agent. And you got to be careful, obviously, because there's only certain people that you can talk that way to. And I felt comfortable saying that to him, that it wasn't going to make him mad, but that clicked him into gear. He's like, okay, yeah, let's talk about this. So that was point number one. So, and again, as I'm sitting there covering his entire, policies with him, I can't even imagine looking him in the eye and saying, yep, you have coverage, and then just pocketing his money. Oh, that was the second thing. All of these people that are stealing money definitely are the reason why people would always come into the agency and they'd bring their shoebox full of cash and pay us for something, and they'd be like, oh, is Ashley going shopping today? I'm like, yes, I'm going to take the cash that you just brought in, stick it in my pocket, and head out.
It's we don't have a bad enough reputation anyways, because they're like, oh, you're just lawyers and blah, 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 And I had a guy ask me one time, how do you sleep at night? I'm like,
oh my gosh,
how do I sleep at night? This was he wasn't a preacher, but he was the second in line in the church. And, how do you sleep at night? You're just a lawyer. And I'm like, are you serious? Have you lost your mind? But I mean, there's people that can sleep at night with money
that's
in
really,
pocket.
it's really funny though, that, I mean, even we're sitting here talking about the stereotype of insurance professionals and comparing it to lawyers, and lawyers are probably having the same daggum, fuss.
Yeah. Well, and some of them really care and really try, and then you have the ones that don't, and they're just out for the money. And I think there's just extremists.
I mean, I guess that goes to say that insurance fraud really impacts more than just the legality of it. It really, it proliferates through the reputation of the insurance company and whether or not those consumers are going to trust somebody else. Impacts the consumers themselves. It absolutely impacts, premiums and what that looks like. Hello, Florida, and everything that's come out of that, right?
Yeah. My little special guy, he came in with a coffee can of receipts that are all wadded up, and so he's like, I have the receipts, and I'm like, I would never have my receipts. I don't save things like that. I should definitely, but I do a lot of things digitally, whereas he doesn't. He'll do cash payments, but he does EFT now, and but he knows he's safe. If something comes up and I see a cancellation, I'm gonna call. Yeah.
What are your recommendations to and this is maybe for both Ashley and you, Judy, whoever wants to talk first. What are your recommendations for an insurance professional who might suspect, maybe not confirm, but might suspect that insurance fraud is being committed within their office. Actually, there's a lot of ethics courses that are out there. And one way or another, even if it's accidental, whether, you do something and now it's considered rebating and you didn't realize it was, what do you think are the steps to mitigating and either shutting it down, course correcting, or calling it out?
Judy, I'll let you go first.
Okay,
You're our guest. I talk enough on here.
thanks. Definitely if it's an equal or if it's someone that you're supervising over, 100% investigate it immediately. Tell the person that's your upline or your business owner if you need to, if it's in fact what you think it might be. There's ways of looking into things without having conflict. And if that's, hey, I really think you need to look into this because this could be concerning, and to protect the business, and then if it's the owner of the business and it's a fact, then report it immediately, because it's just trying to fix it or trying to talk to them or trying to discuss it. Why did this happen? How can you correct this? Please stop doing this. Like all the things that you have, definitely just report it immediately. Get it stopped, because it's not going to stop. If they get away with it once, they get away with it twice, then they continue to do it throughout. And it's something that it just leaves so many people unprotected. And it's so dangerous for all of our reputations, not just the business itself. So, and if the business owner is going to do business that way, then they need to be reprimanded for it, at least taken care of.
Yeah. Ashley, you have any thoughts?
Well, you touched on earlier when you said unintentionally, because, there are how many times you're multitasking in an agency, especially if you're a smaller agency, but you're high volume, people coming in and out, that you might take a payment. And if it's maybe it's a direct bill account, but they come into you and you deposit it, you write the check, you send it to the company, whatever. If you accidentally put the money in the account, but then you forget to write the check, totally unintentionally, you're doing the right thing, that just slipped up. One thing that I learned in Ohio is, through all of the E&O and ethics training, is that when in doubt of like potentially breaking, a law when it comes to insurance, self-report. Because we have case studies here where somebody did something unintentionally in Section A. They call us and they said, hey, we accidentally issued this certificate of insurance. It was a new producer. The policy wasn't in force for another 2 weeks. He didn't realize what he was doing. What do I do? Like, everything's fine. No claims happened. Everyone's happy and okay. But what do we do? And we told them, you should call ODI and self-report yourself, explain the situation. They did that. ODI said, hey, thank you for explaining everything that happened. We really appreciate it. We consider this matter closed. And that was it. There was no fine, no fee. They're like, thank you for reporting this. Now, on the other hand, had they not done that, and again, it was still unintentional, there's another case out there where they were fined $500 with another, similar case, but they just, and again, they're like, man, I didn't know I had to do that. So, I think that's a super tricky area, because if you're in a smaller, even if you're in like a 20 people and under agency, which is not a small agency by any means, but that's still like small enough where you're close to those 20 people all the time, you want to be sure that you handle addressing that topic in the correct way. Because the last thing you want to do is accuse somebody of fraud. You're like, hey, Dustin, stop stealing money. And then, it turns out that you weren't stealing money and I just, thought you were.
Add a twist to that. Ash, we're friends. What if it was me who you discovered was committing insurance fraud? What extra layer of confusion?
I'd probably smack you.
Duly noted. Do not commit insurance fraud around Ashley.
It was a 3-person agency, so we were super close. And so we presented like, hey, this shows this, why is it this? And, and it was constant. It was constant. And it didn't stop, after we were gone. So that's just, I was like, and that's the thing. Someone could be like, oh, well, I was sick and I didn't have my mental capacity about me, then don't run a business. Have somebody else take over stuff for you if you're making poor decisions. that's just the way it is. If it continues, that's the actual reason, then you should get yourself out of the position.
Just the way the cookie crumbles. Man, that's an interesting perspective. That's really kind of, yeah, like Ashley did. The first thing I think of anytime I think of insurance fraud is, first of all, I'm going straight to roofs for some reason. It's just top of mind at the moment. Ashley goes to house fires. You're obviously an arsonist at heart.
Who doesn't like to burn things?
You like to burn things?
Who doesn't like fire?
It's my house for sure.
Oh my gosh. Ashley, have you ever actually been like aware of or involved in an insurance fraud case?
No, I was thinking about that when Judy was talking about it. I'm thinking, man, it's so weird to actually now know someone that was directly, obviously not involved, but so close to it. Because, we hear horror stories all the time. But in, the decade that I was in the agency, outside of like one major like national case from, I think the guy was from like maybe Scranton or Wilkes-Barre, and I could be making this entirely up, but I think it was like a pyramid scheme or something. And I'm going to have to Google this. I think that he stole a ton of money and it was all over Good Morning America or whatever. But outside of that, I have never personally experienced it or said like, oh, I think the guy, whatever, 10 miles down the road is doing this. So it's just really interesting. And I look at it this way. I did the accounting in our agency for, like 6-7 years when my uncle passed it off to me. First of all, I am not good with numbers, but the accounting, the books are fine. But if I made, like in the beginning, I'm rushing, he called me a mad clicker. I'd be going and doing things and I would make a simple mistake and it would take 2 hours to figure out how to rectify it in the system. And I'm thinking, these people, some of the people that are stealing money from large organizations are not like the brightest bulbs in the box, but yet they still figure out how to do it and they don't get caught for years sometimes. And
another thing that just fascinates me about how some people commit such large crimes that, like, first of all, it's kind of, okay, never mind.
Wait.
I was fixing to say, this is kind of like your parents warning you, don't talk to strangers because they could give you drugs. Like, there is nobody that's walking around that's just going to give a random stranger drugs. But even it was so drilled into our heads, be careful, don't accept drugs or don't take drugs or strangers. I wouldn't even know who to walk up to and ask for drugs, even if I wanted it. So how do these people figure out how to do all of this nefarious stuff and then get away with it?
I'm sure that it would be, I'm sure, not that I have personal experience with this, but I'm sure it'd be very easy to find drugs somewhere. More importantly, look at a meth lab. Like, I failed like general science. I didn't fail it. I'm just like, science isn't my thing. I know like the nucleus is the powerhouse of the cell. There we go. But like, these people are smart enough to make meth.
If he's
takes you back to who
actually taken seriously and put into a lab, they could probably cure cancer, to be honest. But
right?
Like, we're making drugs instead. So
right? It like, oh my goodness. That's for another podcast.
Now, I feel like it's totally easy to figure out how to defraud somebody or, lose trust, stuff like that. But it just kind of goes all the way back to, how did you figure out that berry bush you could actually eat or it was poisonous? Like, somebody out there had to try it first. Ash, you brought up the meth lab. Who was the first person to create drugs from a meth lab and go, this is marketable?
This didn't explode. That's cool.
It's interesting, the things that people come up with, and sometimes they turn out good and sometimes they don't. And that's what the Department of Insurance is here for, is when what we come up with turns out bad.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it was mind blowing for me to always like feel safe that in case I missed something, that it was protected by errors and omissions. And it's not, the person could probably come up with, oh, I just mistakenly did that. But how many times can you mistakenly do things before it's caught on that you're not mistakenly doing it? And like, there's been times where I've maybe issued a policy and it was the next day instead of that day. And so they would be unprotected for a whole day. And I'm calling the company going, I did something wrong, can we fix the date, or can we do this? Or I made this payment out of our account. It needs to be out of this person's account, and get it, and corrected and follow through. It's very important, I think, as any other agent, to take responsibility immediately for what you've done. Call the company, see if they can fix it. And
You're saying the whole payment out of an account, it brings to mind, I don't think I've ever done this, but now that your web browser is smart enough to like log payment features, turn that feature off if you're an insurance agent or an insurance professional so that it doesn't capture people's payment. And because if you do, you accidentally click say, I got annoyed once because somebody was on my computer and they logged in and it says, do you want to save this password? Well, all you have to do is simply click no, but instead that person clicked never remember. So now I had to go back into all of my settings and undo that because I accessed that website and I want it to remember my password, whatever. But I mean, the same thing applies. I could see how something really easy in terms of the technology advancements that we have going on, even with just our web browsers, where a payment option gets saved, and then you accidentally draft another customer's account with the next policy you issue because you saved a payment.
Or even set up something on auto payment that you shouldn't. And even out of your agency account, that could drain the agency account and the customer's like, I've never got a bill. I don't know. I still have insurance, So there's all kinds
of random thoughts.
I think of a lot of random things.
The things that keep you up at night that you go, oh my gosh, did I save that payment? Exactly. That happens with addresses though. Whenever I'm doing remarkets and I've not turned the feature off yet and it saves the address that you put into a field, then the next time you go in to do another quote, it populates that address automatically and you've made it all the way to the end of rating and you realize that the address is incorrect. You've got to go back and re-rate the entire, it's freaking annoying.
Yes. Yeah. And luckily, like the agency I'm with now, we're still a small agency. I think we've got 13, 14 people now. And the owner she came from an environment similar to the last agency I was with. And that's actually why they created their own agency. And she's super meticulous with her books, just super over meticulous because she just knows, she's got 13 people that are making transactions that she's got to supervise. And she's just super meticulous with it. And it's respectable.
2.5 months ago, I accidentally walked out of a hotel with an orange juice that I didn't pay for, and I still think about that daily.
Okay, somebody called a popo.
So you're not.
If we're gonna have confessional time, I don't even know how long ago this was, but I was checking out groceries, and something happened with the chip in my card to where it errored on the thing. Like you put your card in, and it errored, but then it cashed out. Like it did not say that I owed anything. And I was like, okay, so I didn't have to put my pen in or anything. That charge, I went home. I didn't do anything. It cashed out, right? I went home and still to this day, I think that charge never hit my bank account. I got like $200 worth of free groceries.
Well, that's not your fault. Like it cashed out.
Exactly.
I should have gone back to the store and been like, listen, your system thinks I paid for this. And I didn't.
Did you get a receipt though?
And it's like, that was probably like 10 years ago and it still keeps me up every once in a while. I think it might be the reason why my husband does the grocery shopping now and I don't touch the grocery shopping is probably because I'm haunted by this lack of payment.
Trauma from your stealing episode.
I committed fraud at the grocery store. Do you have anything you'd like to confess, Judy? I'm just kidding. We don't want you to confess and
I've been thinking
yourself.
And I don't really have anything that
Judy is aces. She is an untainted individual.
I mean, I know situations like my husband and I would go shopping and we'd put water on the bottom of the cart and then get outside and he'd have to go all the way back in and buy the water because
I've done that before. Mine was dog food. I do remember that. The random crap that I can remember, but I can't remember, to post a meme on awkward Facebook about cat coverage.
He's like, I'm probably why people stand at the door and check receipts because I put things underneath and forget about it. So I was like, no.
Okay. See,
sure
unique perspective. Person. I thought they were just there to annoy the crap out of us.
I feel like it's awkward because you didn't steal anything, but also you're like, I didn't.
Okay, one final question since we're here. How do you feel about walking into something like Walgreens, looking for something, not finding it, and walking back out without having
I definitely feel suspicious, even though I know I've done nothing wrong.
Do you feel suspicious too?
No, not there, but I have felt weird, like, if we're traveling somewhere and I go into a gas station and I'm looking for something specific and then I'm like, oh, it's not here. Like they don't have whatever Red Bull sugar-free. and then I walk right back out, I feel like I'm being stared at.
So what do? Do you put your hands in your pockets, hands where they
No.
can see them?
Hands in your pockets.
I cannot tell you how many times I have legitimately walked out of Walgreens like this.
Turn your pockets inside out, put your hands up.
I can't even think, like, if there was an officer in the parking lot and I'm walking out like this, he's like, oh my God, active shooter situation in the Walgreens. Oh my gosh, Judy, Ashley, this has been a lot of fun. We started out with some fun, got a little heavy about the truth and the ethics behind insurance fraud when committed by the insurance professional, and then somehow ended up on hands up as you walk out of a Walgreens store and haven't purchased anything. Thank you so much for being here. This has been fun, entertaining, and interesting. Toodles, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For more content like this, visit our website or join our online community. Interact with fellow peers, become a mentor, celebrate successes, and let's learn together. Visit our website and click on the community icon to get started. Thanks for watching.